Hello, it's kind of a rant today. So it's a video about why is it that all these campgrounds are putting these 2-day reservation requirements on there. It is just like so frustrating. So a couple years ago, I really started to get back into camping. And when I started, it was you can make a one night reservation pretty much anywhere. But now there's so many new rules around what you can and can't reserve. It's just really frustrating to me. So I wanted to talk about it. So there are, like, for example, Vermont. Vermont is probably my most favorite state park system to go to, just because it's usually pretty remote. It's a nice accommodations. They have pretty much what I'm looking for oftentimes. But lately it's been difficult for me to go out because there are 2-day reservation requirements for if you have Friday night or Saturday night, you have to book for 2 nights. And that just boggles my mind why that is, because I'm somebody who, when I go somewhere, I really want to make sure that I have a place to be and I'm allowed to be there. Now, if you're somebody who dispersed camps, you know that that's not really an option when you go to dispersed camping unless they require a permit. And then at that case, then you pretty much have a set place because of a certain amount of permits. But for other than that, if I'm going to a state park, which I usually do and I usually like to go to, I'll just reserve it in advance so I know that I have a place to be. So I really enjoy doing that, and so I just found that all the Vermont state parks now and other parks, I've went to Virginia, Pennsylvania, there are some, not all, but some, that require you to purchase 2 nights if you're going Friday or Saturday, and it just drives me nuts. And specifically because I'm someone who pretty avidly goes on those websites and checks the reservation. I'm sure the reason why they do it is want to try to push people to go longer and maybe get some more revenue going. But I feel like you're kind of alienate the people that, like me, who I really only go oftentimes for 1 night, sometimes 2. And believe it or not, that's enough for me. I know some people are like, that's crazy. Why would you only go for 1 night and go and experience nature and just stay overnight for 1 night and come back? I've done that a few times now. And it works out pretty good, specifically when I'm moving from place to place. So if I'm on a road trip and I'm camping for the road trip, I'll often just spend 1 night place because I don't really want to spend too much time in one location. So that's where it's so tough when I try to, go from place to place and travel amongst the state, and I can't stay for 1 night, or I have to buy 2 nights just to stay the 1 night. And I've experienced that at Fort Frederick State Park, trying to get more like Sunday night into Monday so that I can kind of avoid that issue. Now, one of the other options that the campgrounds have that I have seen, I'm definitely for, is that if you can make a reservation online, or after a certain time, usually like 3, 4, 5 o'clock, they will allow you to just come in and get whatever sites are available. So they will wait for all the reservations to come in, and then they will take whatever wasn't reserved and they'll release it so that you can come in and get your spot. To me, that's kind of the best of both worlds, because especially if you're not going on a very busy time of year, like night, like a Memorial Day weekend or some type of holiday weekend, obviously most campgrounds are booked up during those times. But other than that, like, especially as remote as it is, sometimes you can really always get a spot. There's usually some sort of, like, I've been to very few campgrounds. I don't think any campground that I've ever been to, because I really avoid the holiday time because I'm working, and also honestly I don't really care too much to go on a specific holiday. Like, I'll just go whenever. So I avoid all holiday stuff. So there's very few times where I've gone to a campground and have it be completely booked. Every single spot is taken. Obviously, sometimes you'll have places that have reservations, but they actually go to the I've seen that a few times, but there's very few times where I've seen a campground be completely filled and not have an option where you could go and get a spot. So I am going to think about trying to do that as well. It makes me a little anxious, though, to be like, all right, I'm going to go to this place. I have a plan that I'm going to go here and sleep here, and I'm hoping that they have a campsite to be able to go to. And it's even off the back of me just saying I've never been to a campground that hasn't had an available spot. Also, sometimes what campgrounds will do is they'll block off certain sections, and especially like towards the end of the year, they'll say, all right, this section is off, but you can still camp in this section, because they don't want to deal with it anymore, so they'll do certain ones. Private ones typically do that, but state campgrounds typically will have all the spots open for the majority of the year. But it's one of those things where I'm just like, I really want to go camping for for one night, or when I travel, I want to be able to camp overnight for one night. And when your campground doesn't allow me to because of the day that it is, even though you can see on the website that spot is available for that one night, meaning that somebody else, you know, either booked a Friday, Saturday or whatever, then as a result, like, you can't get it. Like, that's money that you could have gotten for me that you can't get. So I'm gonna try to kind of switch over. The other tough thing about show up and see what I get, and I've had this, and majority of the time I've had this happen, is that I usually don't get there by the office hours. Usually the office hours are like 4 o'clock or sometimes 5 o'clock. The latest I've seen is like 7 o'clock. And so I usually don't arrive at that time, like before 7 o'clock. So that's where I'm gonna have to like really plan out and make sure I arrive before their time, you know, that they're available, and hope that they have a spot. The other thing too that I was thinking of is that, and I would recommend to any of you who are somebody who does this, is having 2 or 3 other places that you could go. So have this, I'm gonna drive to this location and try to get a campsite, but if they don't have a campsite, have a backup, you know, be able to drive somewhere else. Also, in addition to that, make sure you get there early enough so that if they don't have a campsite, you can drive to the other one and the office will be open, so you'll be able to get one. The last thing you wanna do is get to a place and there's no one there to be able to get a campsite from, and then all of a sudden now you're stuck, or you end up going and camping at a spot that you're not supposed to be at, which is even worse, because then if they, especially if it's a campground, they'll usually call the cops because they don't have like security or whatever, like a private one would, and then you could get trespassed or whatever, you get in trouble. I don't really want that. So it's a struggle. And so I don't know if you've been experiencing this, can you leave a comment down below? Because this is something where I'm seeing that it's growing trend. Vermont did this for all of this season, basically. I think it started at the beginning of the season, the first 2 months they didn't have it, and then they said from this point to the end, it will have it. So I'm like, okay, well, that kind of stinks, because every time I try to do it, I was like, oh, this sucks. So, and I think also Maryland did it, and I don't think Pennsylvania did it, because I was there for one night. I know Maryland, when I was there, they required 2 nights, but I don't know if it was that exact location, because sometimes it's like certain spots will do it and certain ones don't. But I think Maryland and Vermont, as far as I know right now, state campgrounds are requiring that 2-day stay, which is like, and especially like, all right, let's say like, all right, fine, I'll pay for the 2 nights to go for one. That's such a waste of money, because like, you're paying so much for just one night of, you might as well get a hotel, So, well, I mean, even if you want to camp, what I mean? Like, it's like, it kind of becomes a little ridiculous. So, I don't know. It's just something I was thinking about, and I wanted to make a video about it. So, I am. If you enjoy this content, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you want to see more of it, hit that subscribe button. My plan is to post every Sunday at 10 a.m. so that you guys have some type of content for your week. And if you enjoy this stuff, keep coming back for more.